guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for being here today as always, and if you are new to this channel and you are interested in tarot readings, true crime cases, unsolved cases, and the occasional candle making video or fragrance review making video, please consider subscribing. I do try to post every week. I do a reading every week, and I upload Saturday night, early Sunday morning. And I do a candle making video, whether it be talking about fragrances or just what I have tried for the month. I try to do that monthly, and I'm still trying to get into a regular bi-weekly schedule for going live. I've only managed to go live twice. I am planning on going live this coming Wednesday. Whenever I do go live, I will post in my community tab what time I'm going live so that you all know. Yeah, so if you're interested in any of that, like I said when I go live, well, I don't think I said that, but I do free mini readings, and so you know, if you want to stop by and have your cards read, you are more than welcome to do so. I did want to update you guys because the last time I think I made a video, or a couple weeks ago, I had expressed that I was going to return to work, and so I wanted to update you guys and let you know what was going on that front. So what I decided to do was go back to substitute teaching. So this past year I took off. Many of you know that I was working at a middle school. I have been working at the same middle school for probably the last 7-8 years. And I really loved it, but I was also becoming kind of burnt out, and especially those last couple of years were really rough. And so when our school was closed down because of COVID, I ended up just taking that year off and kind of focusing on things that I wanted to do and things that I've never had time or energy to do. And that was my tarot readings. I did start the YouTube channel. Candles, wax melts were a hobby up until last year, when I started to really focus on improving the product and deciding to finally open an Etsy shop, and everything has been very successful, and everything I absolutely love doing everything that I do now. I absolutely love it. For the first time, I can say that I love what I do and I'm doing what I love, and not many people can say that. And so one of the main concerns for me going back to work was, am I going to have enough energy and time to still do what I do now? And that was a big concern. And so I had a couple of weeks there where I was really stressed, and I really didn't know what to do, honestly. I was kind of looking forward to going back and seeing everyone and just kind of getting back into the groove, but at the same time, like I said, I was really concerned about my energy level, because I know when I am working 40 hours a week, I come home and I make something to eat, and that's pretty much my evening, and my weekends are spent doing laundry and cleaning, and just like any other full-time worker's life, you're busy and your energy kind of goes into that, and whatever you have left, it goes into your family and your home. And so I was really concerned about that, and so what I decided to do was go back into substitute teaching, which I was doing prior to working at the middle school that I have been working at. And that allows me to have a little bit more freedom to choose which days I want to go in. It also allows me to choose which grade I want to work with, you know, what school to pick. We have several schools here in this local area. We probably have a good 20 primary schools, 5 or 6 middle schools, and we have 4 high schools. And so I kind of prefer to work with high schoolers. I just kind of, especially in particular, the upper classmen, juniors and seniors are my favorite age range, because they're just a little bit older, and their social skills are a little bit more developed versus when they are in 6th and 7th grade. And so I do enjoy that age. And it just so happens that many of the juniors and seniors around the high schools that we have here, I had worked with many of them when they were in 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th grade. And so I don't know a lot of them, but I know enough of them where I feel confident that I'm going to see someone that I know whenever I go in. And that has actually been the case. So I have picked up a couple of shifts here and there, and so that allows me to work and, you know, get back into that grind schedule, but not to the point to where I come home and I'm just absolutely, utterly exhausted and have no time or energy to do anything. And so that is what I've decided to do. And I enjoy that. And there's always, like I said, there's always positions to take. I could probably work 5 days a week, every day, with no problem, because substitutes are so hard to come by. It's so challenging working with students, especially middle school. That is just one of those awkward ages where they're kind of coming out of that primary school and they're not quite into that high school age yet. They, you know, think that they're 20 or older, and so it's a really awkward, it's a challenging age range. And it's okay, I think, when you're in that building and you've been in that building for a long time and they know you and they respect you and you have a rapport with them. That's one thing, but to go in and sub at just a random middle school where they don't know you and you don't know them, it is kind of hard to create a rapport in a 40-minute time span and you know, work with them and enjoy your time. And so I rarely pick up jobs for middle school. So like I said, I like to stick with high school. Once in a blue moon I will pick up a primary position, but I really prefer high school, and so that's kind of the age range that's the only thing I've chosen up to this point. So I don't know if I'm going to be brave enough to pick any middle school or primary school positions to sub at. But anyway, I just wanted to update you guys and tell you that that's what's going on. And I feel a lot less stressed, because I was really sweating it here recently and not knowing if I was going to be able to pull it off. Alright, so, and then that brings me to private tarot readings. So if you guys are interested in a private tarot reading, just go ahead and email me. I put my email in the description box, and these tarot readings are about an hour to an hour and a half in length, and I record them. You see me shuffle, you see me pull. I do it exactly the same setup as I do these videos, and then I upload it to YouTube, but I upload it as an unlisted video, which just means you are the only one that can watch that video. I send you the direct link, unless you want to share that link with someone. That is completely up to you, but you are the only one that can view that video. It's up there for as long as you want it. If you want me to take it down for whatever reason, I will absolutely gladly do so. You can follow up questions. I have no minimum number of questions that you can ask. You know, sometimes I get messages where people list everything. They want to know about their love life, their career, their finance, you know, everything. And I do notice that sometimes, you know, you can ask the cards those things, but sometimes the cards tell you things that you need to hear, not always what you want to hear. So, you know, but as far as, you know, asking questions, absolutely everything is on the table. Recently, I actually, for the first time, I had a ancestor reading, and that was absolutely phenomenal. It was the first time I've done an ancestor reading, and it was probably one of the most interesting readings I've ever done. And so anything, if I'm capable of doing it, I will do it for you. So if you need a reading, or if you're interested in a reading, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Alright, so for today's reading, this is a requested video. It was requested quite a while back. And that is the case of Alexis Sharkey, who was, I hate to say influencer, because it appears that she did not like that term. She preferred to consider herself as a businesswoman / mentor. But she definitely was an influencer, I think. Gorgeous woman, absolutely stunning. But I'm going to go into a little bit of the background. I feel like, okay, I'll be honest with you, I had no idea who she was. I just started looking into her last night. I've watched maybe 2 videos and I've read a couple of articles on her, and so I kind of have a feeling of the situation. I do believe that the case is still open. A lot of people, it sounds like the consensus is that a lot of people are looking at her husband, Tom Sharkey, as someone suspicious. And I do believe that this happened in 2020, and so it's, like I said, it's very fresh. And in the beginning, they did not know her cause of death. And I believe that the medical examiner did come out and confirm that the cause of death was strangulation. And the case has now been labeled as a homicide. But as far as anything beyond that, we don't know. They're still working on it. It's still an open and active investigation. But it's obviously apparent that someone killed her. Someone did this to her. A lot of people, like I said, in social media are looking at the husband, Tom. His behavior has been, it's kind of strange. It's odd. And then we've got this weird friend group that Alexis was part of. And in particular, I want to mention Tanya Ricardo, because I've seen quite a bit of stuff about Tanya Ricardo. And again, I guess I should go in to at least say that she did sell, I think, hair products, and I don't know if it was skin products or not, but I know she worked at a company called Monet, and kind of like one of those MLM type companies, and was quite successful at what she did. She rose to the top quite quickly. It kind of reminded me of Shanann Watts, to be honest with you. There are just some people that are really good at what they do, and it just so happens that these two women were really good at selling their product, and they were very successful in a short amount of time. And so you have to often kind of ask yourself, God, if they had more time to do what they were so good at, imagine the success that they could have experienced, because I think that they were very successful in the time frame that they both had. But she was working for this Monet company, this hair care product or something. Very gorgeous, and everything was social media. I believe that she used primarily Instagram, and so she kind of posted her whole life, which is also kind of what Shanann did. And then, the thing about with Shanann, though, and I do feel like there's some parallels between Alexis and Shanann. When you look at these women and what they post on social media, they look like they have the perfect life. They're happy, they're beautiful, their families are beautiful, everything's, they're traveling, they're going places. But as we learned in the Chris Watts case, Shanann, posted those things, but there were so many things beneath the surface that we had no idea what was going on. They were financially struggling, they were barely holding on, and so I have to wonder, when I look at Alexis's Instagram photos, what was also going on beneath the surface in that situation as well. Was the relationship with her and her husband as wonderful as it appeared on Instagram? And so that is the question. But this just happened in 2020. I think it was right around Thanksgiving. You'll have to forgive me. I don't have everything exactly. Like I said, I just started looking into this last night. But, it was, I think it was Thanksgiving of 2020. The next day, I think it was the next day, because I think that Alexis had spent the day with her group of friends, and that's another thing I want to look into today is the group of friends. One woman in particular has come up in a lot of the articles that I've read, and that is Tanya Ricardo. So like I said, Alexis was working for Monet, and when her and her husband moved, I think it was to Colorado. Was it Odessa? No, Odessa, Texas. Okay. So she actually had a group of friends that she met on a like a website, like a dating website, but it was under the friends section, which I didn't even know existed. I didn't know that you could look for friends on like a friend site like that. And it seemed like these women, and there was like it looked like there's maybe a group of 4 or 5 of these women. They have many pictures of themselves together, but it looked like, and forgive me if I'm mistaken, but I don't know if they all worked for Monet or if it was just a couple of them, but it sounds like they all kind of did the same thing, and they just hit it off, and they were a nice little tight friend group. But at the same time, they didn't know each other very long, because, like I said, they literally just met on a website maybe a year or so prior to this happening. So again, like I said, we've got Tanya Ricardo, that is an interesting character, and I'm going to be asking about her today, and as well as Tom, the husband. So those are the two characters that, from what I read in the last 12 hours, kind of pique my interest, as well as others, you know, as well. But anyway, it sounds like it was Thanksgiving. Let me see. Let me go down to the day of. All right. Okay, so the day after Thanksgiving 2020, the next day, November 27th, was Black Friday, which meant it would be a busy day for Alexis and Monet. Her colleagues started sharing their sales posts early in the morning, but Alexis was oddly silent, which was especially weird since she was the one who was always encouraging people to use social media for sales. So again, kind of the same thing with Shanann. These are two women that live with their phone. Their phone is their source of survival. That's how they make a living, right? And so they're always posting. And so, you know, when someone like that is constantly putting out, you know, stuff on the internet, and all of a sudden they go silent for any length of time, it causes a red flag right away. And so her friends were starting to wonder what was going on. It wasn't until around 5:30 there was finally a text message in the group chat sent from Alexis's phone. She wanted to go out in the evening and was asking about her friends' plans. Because it was Thanksgiving weekend, however, the girls were already busy, so they made plans to meet the next day for a girls' night. Those brief group chat messages were the last time anyone heard from Alexis. So since Alexis, we know that Alexis did reach out to her friends at 5:30 in the evening wanting to get together. It does make me believe that there must have been something going on that day if she wasn't posting normally on Black Friday like they would have expected her to, but she did. It sounds like from this article she did reach out to her friends at 5:30 with a text message. So obviously she was alive unless someone else was using her phone at that time. So I wonder what was going on earlier in the day for her not to post anything for Black Friday. Okay, so where did Alexis go? A few hours later, around 11 p.m., Tom, which is Alexis's husband, texted one of Alexis's friends, a guy friend named John. Oh, no, sorry. One of Alexis's friends' boyfriend, John, to ask if he had heard from Alexis. Not wasting precious time texting, John immediately called Tom. That's when Tom told him that Alexis was missing and that the two of them had gotten into a fight before she stormed out of their house barefoot and hadn't seen her since. She had climbed over the fence and there was a black car that had picked her up. The phone call lasted 45 minutes, during which Tom told John everything that allegedly happened before Alexis left their home. However, it does add in here that Tom would later change his story several times throughout the investigation. At some point, he told police that Alexis was wearing sweats and running shoes. In another version, he said that she left her phone behind. And in even another version, he said that she took it with her and he used an app to track her down. And that he had followed her around in a black car until he eventually lost signal. So obviously Tom's story is suspicious at the very least, just because it's not a consistent story. There was a whole bunch of things that I think happened between Tom and the mother after Alexis's body was found. But let me see if I can get down to where they find her. Alright, so I wanted to see if I could find basically what ends up happening. Let me go back to the top here real quick. Alright, so what ends up happening is on November 28th, 2020, Houston city workers stumbled upon a naked body on the side of a service road. At first, they thought it was a mannequin because of the way the body was positioned. Upon a closer look, however, they realized that they were looking at a dead woman. The police would later identify her as Instagram influencer Alexis Sharkey, age 26. Alexis's body was found just a couple of miles away from the house she shared with her husband, Tom Sharkey. The medical examiner confirmed the cause of death was strangulation, and the case officially became a homicide. So that's where I'm going to end kind of the background on this. Like I said, absolutely stunning young woman. But we have this lady who is constantly on social media and is constantly posting, and who kind of, goes absent for a while, and the husband is not giving consistent stories. I think that the friend group is a little bit odd, and here we have her being found dead, unfortunately, the following morning on the side of the road. So what happened to Alexis? So that's what we're going to try to find out today. Alright. And like I said, I kind of feel like I want to focus this reading on Tom primarily, as well as on the friend group, specifically Tanya, and see just kind of what comes out. So I've got two decks here. I've got the Urban Tarot and I've got the Heaven and Earth Tarot, and so I think I'm going to start out with the Heaven and Earth Tarot. So just a basic question to get background and to see what kind of comes out. Let's just see here. Let's start with Tom. Let's just see what's going on with Tom, and let's start with the time leading up to the murder. Okay, so I really want to kind of get an idea of what their true marriage was like. Not what we were seeing on Instagram, but what was really going on behind the lens. Alright. What was going on in Tom and Alexis Sharkey's marriage? What was this marriage like? What's the marriage like? What's the marriage like? Tom and Alexis Sharkey. Okay, that's not a good sign. So the first thing that comes out is the Four of Wands, and it's coming out reversed. So sometimes I look at this as the marriage card, literally the marriage card, and I'm asking about their relationship and their marriage leading up to this. And so it was not, this to me tells me right away that this marriage was not as it seemed. Okay, there were things going on behind the surface. Three of Wands. So I kind of look at this as either, first of all, they travel a lot, right? So they were constantly traveling. It could be partly that. It could be also a yearning for one or both of them to leave the situation. Was this Alexis? Was she considering to move away? Did she want to move away? That's a possibility. Or were they both considering to move away and try to make the relationship work? Because this is telling me that something isn't right. The Princess of Juan. So this is the Page of Wands. So to me, I definitely do look at that as Alexis. And, you know, she's coming out as a page because she is young. She was 26. And so she's not at that queen status. But what's interesting about this particular card in this deck is that she looks like a queen, right? When I first seen this page, the page doesn't usually look like that. This, to me, I actually had to take a double glance because I thought it was the Queen of Wands, and it's actually the Page. And so I do feel like this represents Alexis without a doubt. You know, she probably appeared older. She was very sophisticated. She at her age, she had already accomplished things that women at my age have not accomplished yet. Okay, so she was really, I don't want to say necessarily an old soul, but she was definitely on her way up, and I think that this card is really fitting for her. This is someone who had a lot of passion, who had a lot of drive, who was successful and was on her way to doing bigger and better things. Okay, that would have eventually turned into the Queen of Wands. What is this? The Queen of Pentacles. So that's coming out as reversed. And now we've got the King of Wands, which is interesting. I do believe that if I could get this to, if you guys could see this, this would be better. I do believe that the King of Wands is definitely Tom. Okay, so they're both coming out in this reading. He's the King of Wands, she's the Page of Wands, and that actually reflects the age difference in reality, right? He's a little bit older than her, quite a bit older than her actually, and so that is coming out in the cards. But they were, I would almost say that they were very similar in their drive and their goals and their passion. They had a lot of similarities, or a lot of things that they had in common, a lot of likes that they had in common. I think that they both enjoyed that lifestyle that they were living, but there was definitely something amiss. And with this Queen of Pentacles reversed, this here, you know, sometimes the Queen of Pentacles I look at as a very grounded person. This is a person who is, you know, one of those people that definitely, if they see something that they want, they accomplish it. But it can also be a very materialistic person. It can be a woman who has achieved financial success, financial independence, and so all of those things I do consider to be part of the Queen of Pentacles, you know, definition. And so it's coming out reversed though. So there's something amiss here. I don't know if maybe these things were not what she was truly after. Was she not really after material possessions? Was she not, was she not, I don't want to say that she wasn't happy with what she'd achieved so far, because I don't get that impression at all. I think she was happy with what she had accomplished in life thus far at that point. And so it kind of makes me feel like, I actually kind of feel like maybe the material, there was something else I think going on in her life, and the material I don't think was enough to keep her. There was something else missing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There was something else missing. Yes, she had beauty, she had money, she was married, but the marriage obviously had something going on, and I just kind of have to wonder if all of that was great on the surface, but it wasn't truly what she wanted deep down. There was something else missing. And then let's see here. Okay, we've got the Lovers. The Lovers is reversed. The Nine of Cups. Okay, so interesting. So I feel like in this first reading, even though I'm asking about the marriage between Alexis and Tom, I feel like the friendship, the girlfriends, they're coming out as well. Okay, so there's something I feel like to do with the friend group. The fact that the friend group is coming in this reading at all makes me kind of, you know, I don't know. We'll get to it. But we've got the Lovers and we've got the Lovers reversed. And so this does tell me that there was definitely some trouble in paradise. We've got that Four of Wands and we've got the Lovers. These two cards here, the marriage was not as it seemed. Okay, I don't know if they started out and I don't know if it grew bad over time, or if maybe it just wasn't right from the beginning. But also with that King of Wands, sometimes I look at that as sometimes anger. Okay, and just I'm almost, with these two here, I think they both had strong personalities. I really do, but I don't think that she was any match to him. he was the one, I think, who controlled the relationship. He was the main person, okay? But she also had that fire in her, and she did not like to be controlled and told what to do. And so I kind of have to wonder if that was part of the problem in the relationship. Was he controlling and she did not like that? Because this here tells me that, like I said, she's on her way of being the queen, which is his match. So it tells me that personalities were very similar. They were both very strong, very in control, very independent, want to do what they want to do. They don't like to be told by anyone else what to do. And these could also clash. And given the age difference between the two, I could see how she would not like the position that she could have potentially had been in, because I feel like he could have been trying to control everything that she did, and she just wasn't having it. She wasn't to be controlled. She wasn't as old as he was. She wasn't maybe as seasoned as he was, and he potentially could have been manipulative or whatever the case may be, and it was affecting her, but she wasn't going to put up with it for much longer. So I do feel like this is a good indication of the both of them, that they're both coming up in this reading, and the marriage was not good. And then again, we've got the Three of Cups. And so I do think that this was, I think it's coming up in this reading because it's coming up as it was an escape for her. That kind of, her friends, I think, were something that she could go to get away from whatever was going on here in the marriage. And I look at this card as she truly, truly enjoyed her friends. Wherever she met them from, whether it be online or whatever the case may be, even if she didn't know them for very long, this tells me that they did click, okay? And I don't see anything concerning yet, but they did click and they did get together, and I think that was somewhat of a solace for her and just kind of a break away from what was going on at home. She really looked at them as a support group, not just friends, but also as a support group. And then that leads us into the Nine of Cups. So sometimes I look at this as an excess card, and it's cups, right? So it's feelings, it's emotions, and sometimes it's an overabundance of feelings, and it's contentment, it's happiness. But sometimes I look at this because all of the cups are kind of overflowing. And I look at this as there's something going on in excess, and because it is a cups, it's emotions and feelings. So an excess of emotions and feelings, and it's right here, smack dab in between the Lovers reversed and the Three of Cups. And so I do feel like it kind of indicates that number one, I do think that Alexis had a lot of love to give to people. I think that with these cups coming out, she was a very social person. She liked to be around people, and I don't think that was getting the fulfillment emotionally from this here, and so therefore was seeking it out over here. And so I do think that this is kind of Alexis kind of being stuck in the middle of the two things surrounding her, which was the marriage and the friends. And so this was what she was kind of leaning on, and that was her outlet, because she wasn't getting anything from over here. So right off the bat, I'm not feeling like things are going well with the husband. So let's pull a few more and see. So now I wanna go into that day, Thanksgiving. What happened that day? So what happened that day? Or actually, is it that day or the night before? Like I said, I'm not really too familiar with this case. I don't know. I want to go into the night that the husband said that Alexis left and got into a car. So that's what I want to focus on here. So what happened? What happened that evening? What happened that evening between Tom and Alexis? What happened that evening between Tom and Alexis? What happened that evening between Tom and Alexis? Oops, I pulled two. Alright. We've got the Sun reversed. We've got the Two of Wands, the Strength card, the Seven of Wands. So, Five of Wands. Alright, let me stop here for just a second because these two here, the Five of Wands and the Seven of Wands reversed, tells me that there was some sort of a physical altercation. Now, it sounds like, from what I've read, that there were no signs of anything like that on Alexis's body when it was found the following morning. But this does kind of tell me that there was some sort of an altercation, whether it be a disagreement, whether it be with just words, but there was something going on there. This could represent possibly an argument, and it wasn't an argument that went in her favor. Okay, whatever the result was, it was not in Alexis's favor. And so that I don't think that this has anything to do with because this is coming out in this reading. I don't think this is a case of, you know, she just wanted to get away and something happened to her while she was out, maybe wrong place, wrong time, and you know, ended up losing her life. I don't get that at all. I do feel like something led up to it. Something led up to her leaving that house, and it wasn't good. Okay, so there were words, at least there were words exchanged between Tom and Alexis. And like I said, they did not end in her favor. And, you know, sometimes I look at this Strength card as, you know, protection and trust. Okay, so you got to have trust between the lion and the female, right, in order to get that close to each other. He's got to trust her as much as that is reciprocated. And so I do feel like this is representing the relationship between Tom and Alexis. However, in this particular deck, there is also a snake that's kind of weaving in from the side here. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is a snake over here. And that snake worries me because I feel like that could be a third party that we're talking about here. So I feel like we've got, here in this card, we've got Alexis and we've got Tom, and then we've also got this snake here. Alright, and so Tom, to me, this is Tom, okay, and he's looking over there at that snake, and he sees that it could be trouble, and he is watching out, okay? So this almost makes me feel like, you know, things weren't great in the relationship. The marriage possibly wouldn't have lasted much longer. They were both considering to leave. But I also feel like we have a third party entering into this story now. Who is that third party? Who is the snake? So let me just pull another card here. Who's the snake represent? Who's this third party person? Who is this third party person? Who is this snake? Oh, we've got the Queen of Wands. So we've got the Queen of Wands. So I do feel like that snake is a female, okay? And this is interesting that it's the Queen of Wands, because I feel like this would eventually have been Alexis as well. And so I do feel like this is someone very similar to both Tom and Alexis in personality, but someone a little bit more seasoned, someone a little bit older, okay? This person here is closer to Tom's age, okay? But I do feel like there is a female involved in this as well. And because we've got 3, and don't forget that we also pulled the 3 of Cups, and so there's something here going on with the number 3, because I feel like we've got a third party here coming in. So I don't think that this is everything to do with Tom. Interesting. Let me see if we had any other threes come out. I know we had the Three of Cups. We had the Three of Wands. Okay, so we do have a couple of threes. So we've got the Three of Cups and the Three of Wands, and I do feel like this is definitely meaning that there could potentially be a third party involved in this. So, like I said, although the marriage wasn't going that well with Tom, there were things that were going on behind the scenes, right? But that's somewhat normal. You would expect that. So is this just, you know, a marriage maybe that wasn't going well and they would have gotten divorced and they would have moved on, or is it something else? And I have to wonder if it's something else coming into the story here, and so let's keep going and see if we can figure out what it is. I definitely do feel like this is here. This pretty much is the downfall of what happened to Alexis. This is what happened. I mean, you've got these this altercation or these words that were said, and I really feel like that was ultimately what led to her passing or her being killed. And so something happened, and then we've got the Two of Wands. So we've actually got the Two of Wands, we've got the Three of Wands. I think that Tom and Alexis are coming out as Wands. We've got fire. Now we've got the Queen of Wands. What is this about? It's not about money. Jealousy? Is this about jealousy? We've got a lot of wands. And everybody in this circle, I think, is coming up as a wand. And I think that I'm seeing a lot of jealousy. I'm seeing a lot of jealousy. And I have to wonder if this woman here potentially was very, very jealous of Alexis. So and like I said, even though Tom, things may have not been that great between the two, I do feel like he's aware of this person. Like he knows this person, and he would have sensed something about this person, and he may have been trying to warn Alexis about this person, and she did not want to hear it. She didn't want to hear it. She was not open to hearing it. I think he could be controlling. I think that he could definitely fit that MO of being controlling and not wanting her to do certain things, and that, I think, was a wedge between the two of them that was splitting them apart. But I do feel like there's someone in their lives that he was trying to at least warn her about, and she potentially was not having it. And I have to feel like it is a female at this point, and it's a female that might be a little bit older than Alexis. I don't know how old Tanya is. I'm not sure. I would have to look it up, but I'm not sure if it would be Tanya or if it would be someone else that we're not thinking about. But this is, to me, jealousy. So let me see if we can kind of get to the nitty-gritty on what happened. What happened that evening or that morning? What led to her being found like that? What happened to Alexis? What happened to Alexis Sharkey? You know, one thing that hasn't come up that I've noticed is the Chariot. And I would expect the Chariot to come up if a car or a mode of transportation was used to put her there, and I would assume that it was. So unless it comes up in these next couple of pulls, that is interesting that we have not seen the Chariot yet. Okay, we've got the Knight of Cups. The Nine of Wands. Reverse. Ah, the Chariot. Okay, so not surprising. The Four of Cups. Four of Swords. The Hierophant reversed. The Five of Cups. And okay, we've got the 5 and the 10 of Pentacles. So alright, so with the Chariot coming up, I do feel like, you know, there was an argument, there was an altercation, and we've also got the Nine of Wands. And the thing about the Nine of Wands is that I always feel like when the Nine of Wands comes out, it's a good sign. It's a sign that says, you know what, you beat the odds. You've been through the battle, you've been through the shit, alright, but you survived it, you're still standing. You're a little bit beat up and bruised up, but you're still standing. And so that's the good thing about this card. And it's also kind of getting towards the end of a cycle or a season, and so kind of a new beginning card as well. But the fact that it came out reversed, it kind of tells me that this was not a battle that Alexis won. So I do feel like this is, and again, it's another Wands, and so there's something going on here with, I think there's jealousy. I really do. I think it's jealousy. You know, someone was very, very jealous of Alexis. I think that Tom was somewhat controlling. I think that he had some rage. I think that he could be very, he could get upset. But I think that with that Strength card coming out, I do feel like that I feel like he tried to, there was someone that he was looking at, and he was trying to, I think, protect Alexis from. And Alexis was not hearing it. She was not open to hearing it. She did not want to acknowledge it. She didn't want to have anything to do with it, because I'm looking at this Four of Cups. I almost feel like this was a warning. This was something that was being told to Alexis, and she just was not open to receiving it. What was this, Tom telling her to stay away from someone because this person wasn't good? Maybe he didn't have good feelings about this person, and she said, no, you know, I don't get that. You know, you're not going to control my friends. You're not going to choose my friends. You're not going to stop me from going out and doing this. Was it something along those lines? And I do, like I said, I feel like this is a woman. Okay, so I feel like this is a woman. And, you know, again, with the Five of Cups, I feel like this is Alexis. I really do. And so this makes me feel like there was something. There was something that she was going through. She was dealing with something. This could have been the marriage. You know, it could have been the marriage. Maybe she just kind of did not like, you know, we've got that Knight of Cups, and so the Knight of Cups can sometimes represent that, you know, that you know, is this the potential, you know, young man that Alexis was possibly seeing at that time? Possibly, maybe. All this stuff, I can imagine at 26 is very stressful, plus doing the type of job that you're doing where you're pretty much working all day. Your life is your work. You know, was she starting to question her feelings for her husband? Was she starting to have feelings and develop feelings for this other individual maybe? You know, did she not like being told, you know, what to do by her husband? Even though maybe he meant well. I can't tell yet. Maybe he meant well, but she just was not, she just wasn't open to receiving it. And so, you know, whatever happened. I do believe that well, we've got the Chariot. I do believe that she was definitely transported in a car. I think that whatever happened to her happened at home. I wonder if they've, I would imagine that they've looked in the home. I would imagine that they've checked for DNA or something. I believe that she was either passed out or not alive by the time she was in the car. Okay, so I would look at this as either being unconscious or not being alive. Okay, so whatever happened before the vehicle. And then the vehicle was just used as transportation. But whatever happened before the vehicle, there was a lot of struggle and a lot of sadness that Alexis was experiencing. There was something going on in her life with that 5 of Cups and the 4 of Cups. Sometimes that can, signify depression. So there definitely something serious going on in her life that she was struggling with, that she was dealing with. But all those wands, I feel like there was definitely a physical altercation, and I know that there was nothing found on her body to indicate that, but there was definitely something. If it wasn't that, it was a huge argument. It was a huge argument. Could it have been about the guy? Could it have been about the guy? I do feel like there's a third party, but I feel like that third party, like I said, is a woman. I think in this reading so far, we've got Tom that has come up. We've got potentially this jealous female, and we have also got, I think, the friend group, and then also possibly this other guy that she was potentially seeing. So all of these characters are coming up in this reading to an extent. So I do feel like they're all connected in some way, shape, or form. And those people may have not liked one another is what I'm getting. This was not a cohesive friend group. So Tom was not part of the girls' club, nor were they part of Tom's fans. This guy here was kind of new, and he was a loner. He came riding into the circle by himself. I don't think that he was associated or affiliated with any of these people or knew any of these people at all. He may have heard of the friends or the husband, but he was not associated with them at all. But the friends are definitely coming up, and the husband's definitely coming up, and then we've got these two other people coming in, the potential boyfriend and the jealous woman. So I almost feel like husband was trying to warn her or trying to protect her maybe from someone, and she did not want to hear it, and that caused problems between them in the marriage. We've got the Hierophant, and the Hierophant can sometimes represent religion, but it can also just be society, okay? Just the system, the society, the system. Again, I almost kind of look at this as another representation of marriage, because sometimes people will look at the Hierophant, sometimes as a marriage card, because it's kind of like a preacher and two people down here. And so guidance, I sometimes look at this as counseling. Were they potentially considering to get marriage counseling? Was that something that one of them suggested? Maybe, I don't know if it would be her or if it would be him. I kind of feel like it would be him. Did he suggest to Alexis that maybe they could kind of get counseling, or they could consider getting counseling and maybe work on the marriage and save the marriage, and she just was absolutely... To me, this is more likely the husband. I feel like on Alexis's side of things, she was done. She was done with the marriage. She wanted out. I feel like this is kind of Tom, and I think that he was trying to save the marriage. He was trying to salvage the marriage. He wanted to potentially get some counseling, and she shut that down. She shut it down, which is why it would be coming out reversed. She didn't want to do it, and so that kind of... I almost feel like it pushed him over the edge. I do feel like if this is from Tom, if Tom is the one that harmed Alexis, hypothetically, for entertainment purposes, I'm not accusing him. If Tom did it, it was something that he did, it was definitely a crime of passion. That is definitely coming up in this reading. This is a crime of passion, and he did it because it would be more or less he was trying to save the marriage, and she was saying absolutely not, it's over, and that was just too much for him to bear. He almost one of those things where, you know, either you're going to stay with me or I'm going to make sure that you're not with anyone else. And so I kind of feel like with this one here coming up, I almost feel like that's what we're talking about in this situation. Then we have the 5 of Pentacles and the 10 of Pentacles. So these two are coming out as well. So, you know, I don't really feel like these two are coming out as symbols of finances. I think it's more health and injury, actually. I really do. I think that 5 of Pentacles, to me, indicates some sort of a physical ailment. And again, I don't know what it would be, because I don't think that Alexis was found with anything obvious on her. I do believe that the cause of death was strangulation, and so it could definitely just be that. But I do feel like this is definitely, again, indicating some sort of physical altercation that had occurred. Cold. Whenever I see this card, I think of being cold. Oh, she was naked. She was naked, that's right. She was cold. Interesting. Alright, that makes me feel like she was alive. I think that she was alive when she was put in the car. Remember when I said this card here makes me feel like she was either unconscious or not alive? I think that she was unconscious. I think that she was very much alive. I think she was very much alive, and I think that she was freezing. I think that she was cold. She was not in good condition at all. But she was cold, and she was put in the car, and she was placed where she was placed. And then we've got the 10 of Pentacles, which we've got this 10 of Pentacles here. I always look at that keyhole. I always feel like that keyhole is significant. And I almost look at it as I'm connecting it to the place where Alexis was found. Was she put there for a particular reason? Was she put there to be found? Was she put there to be hidden? You know, did someone see something? And you know what? In this particular card, we've got this man here, and he is actually out here looking at this couple. This makes me feel like this, I feel like this is Tom here, and I feel like he knew exactly what was going on. I think that Alexis was probably seeing this other man, this other individual, and I think that Tom was aware of it, and I think that Tom probably told her that, you know, he did not want the marriage to end. I don't think he did. And I think that he wanted to consider counseling. She said no. I think he wanted to work on the marriage. She said no. She just was not feeling it anymore, and she wanted out. And I feel like it could have been possibly because of all that fire and the King of Wands card in the beginning. There's a lot of rage there. And so I do feel like there was some rage and potentially that resulted in him harming her. But to me, I also feel like he could have been watching her. He could have been following her. He could have, you know, I just feel like he was watching her. Whether he was watching her go out to places with this guy, or if it just happened once. Actually, because this is a 10, I feel like he had been watching her for quite some time. And I don't think that she was aware of it at all. I really do. That's what I think that this 10 of Pentacles is. I think that he was out watching her. He was spying on her. He knew exactly where she was, when she was there, who she was there with. and he, I think, pretty much just kind of snapped. I really do. I think that whatever happened that night, I think he approached her and, you know, maybe gave her an ultimatum and you know, said to end this, and, you know, maybe asked to try to work on the marriage. She said no. She was done, and one thing led to another, and I do feel like, again, I'm not accusing, but this particular reading makes me feel like husband is not looking too good right now. But we still have a third party involved here, whether it be just jealousy. It could be just jealousy. For whatever reason, that third party, you know, that third party, even though I felt like it was a woman, you know, it could definitely be this person here. You know, the jealousy, could it have been the jealousy was of this person? I still feel like, I feel like that's a possibility, but I still feel like there's a possibility that there is a female, an older female in Alexis's life at that time that was extremely jealous of her. Let me just pull a couple of cards. That's kind of where I'm going to end it, but I want to use the other deck, and I want to pull a couple of cards just on Tanya, because I am very curious about Tanya as well. And we'll see what comes out, but I do think that my guess would be, we know that Alexis was strangled, and I think her friends have come out and said that she did tell them that her husband would strangle her, and she would wake up, she'd pass out, and she'd wake up in the bathroom, and she was scared of him. Now, it's hard to take that for, you know, 100% fact, because this is just coming from her friends that they say that's what she said. But I do feel like there is some substance to that after these cards, because I do feel like there's something off with Tom. And he knew. I think that it's most likely the case that she was seeing that other guy. And I think Tom knew all about it, and Tom was watching her. He was following her. So I think he just, I do think he snapped. I think that he snapped, in my opinion. Alright, so what's going on with Tanya? Tanya Ricardo. Tanya Ricardo. Tanya Ricardo. The Tower. Interesting. First card to come out for Tanya. Death. Interesting. The Nine of Swords. Gosh. The Empress. Do two more. Power, the Four of Pentacles. Success, the Six of Pentacles. So right here with these two cards, one is labeled power and the other label is success. And so that to me kind of says what we need to know about Tanya Ricardo. It's all about power, money, success. You know, we've got two pentacle cards here right off the bat. And, you know, I feel like almost with the Four of Pentacles coming out, that kind of tells me that also with the Six, I don't feel like she is content with her finances. I really don't. I think that she is kind of almost irritated that this card here, that this one comes out, sometimes that can mean to kind of hold on to your money, curb your spending, and this is not, to me, the type of person that wants to do that. Okay, she likes to spend. I think I read when I looked her up today that she, you know, spent thousands of dollars trying to remake herself physically to look like Meghan Markle. So this is definitely a person who is very obsessed with how she appears on the outside, and so very vain person, I think, coming out. She is a mother. I do remember seeing that she has a child. So as far as this card comes out, I believe that she, you know, she probably is a decent mother, I would assume, with this one here coming out. But when it comes to her own self, it's all about power, success, greed. And then the Nine of Swords. So this here kind of tells me that, you know, she's not completely happy on the inside. This is a potentially an unhappy individual. Okay, so she's definitely one of those exterior people where she looks a certain way on the outside but is a completely different person on the inside. And she may exhibit herself or show herself as being happy and successful, and you know, she's happy with her look, she's happy with her surgery, you know, life is good, she looks like Meghan Markle, but that's not how she feels on the inside. She's still very I don't want to say damaged, but she's got a lot of things going on that are not doing very well. And cruelty, I feel like she has the potential to be a cruel person. I really do. I think she can be a cold person. And so with these three cards here, with the power, the success, and cruelty, what wouldn't she do to get to the top? Okay, that's the type of person that I feel like she is. And potentially she has done things that keep her up at night, because this Nine of Swords is that, you know, that 3 a.m. card, and so it makes me wonder, who was she cruel to? You know, was she cruel to someone in particular? You know, were people cruel to her? Maybe a little bit of both, but I do feel like there's some things that maybe she's done in her life that have, you know, definitely weighed on her mind. These are mind cards, these are head cards, so there's definitely something messing with her mind, okay? And then we've got the Tower, so, you know, what's the Tower? You know, what is the collapse in her world? What happened? Is this something that she's going through now? Is it something that she's already went through? Is it something that she is going to go through? I actually kind of feel like this is something that she is either in the midst of or about to experience. Okay, so I do feel like there's a collapse, and once that collapse happens, then she will transition. She'll, you know, this Death card to me, you know, it's going to take this in order to change. Okay, something's going to change. I think as she is right now, she's a very vain individual, and it's all about looks and money and popularity and things like that. And so that's not what life is about, but that is what it is about to her. She is also, though, very unhappy, and so there's something, I think, about to happen that is going to change the outlook for her. Okay, and she doesn't see it coming. She doesn't see it coming. I mean, this woman here, on the Death card, looks like she's blindfolded or something. She doesn't, you can't see her face. So whatever this is, literally Tanya does not see it coming. It comes out of nowhere, and it literally destroys her world. So could this be the death of her friend Alexis? Very well could be. You know, maybe the outcome is going to absolutely collapse her world, and she will have no other choice but to change and transition from the outcome of it. Is she possibly involved? I don't necessarily pick that up, but I do think that she's a very vain individual, and I don't think is I don't know. I know I mentioned the child, that she had a child. I don't think this is that, though. I don't think that this is representing her as a mother. It could be, okay, it could be, but I think that there's also something else going on. There's something going on maybe with her own relationship with her mom. There's a reason why this is coming out, and I'm not quite sure what it is, but I think it has more than one reason to come out, and I think it's something to do with her own mother, and maybe as to why she is the way she is now. But interesting read on Tanya. Not a very warm person at all. Let me just pull a couple more on Tanya. I want to ask specifically, does Tanya know anything about what happened to Alexis, or does she have anything to do with it? Does Tanya Ricardo know anything about what happened to Alexis, or does she know who committed this crime? Tanya Ricardo, does she know who did this, or did she have anything to do with it? Tanya Ricardo, does she know who did this? So we've got happiness, Queen of Wands. Interesting. She's the Queen of Wands. She's the jealous one. She's the Queen of Wands that came out earlier. She's the one who, yeah, okay. Interesting. Does she know what happened? Ace of Swords. We've got happiness and we've got victory. Five of Wands, the strife. Second time. Oh, Five of Swords, defeat. Four of Swords, truce. The Hangman. Oh, okay, this isn't, okay. The Fool. Okay, I'm gonna have to quit there because I'm running out of time. Alright, look at this title of this particular card. It's literally called the Public Defender. This is the Queen of Wands, so, but it's ironic that it's labeled as the Public Defender. Does this mean that there's going to be something that happens where, you know, Tanya could potentially need a lawyer? Maybe. But I definitely feel like there's, if she didn't have anything to do with it, she definitely has some information. She has more information than what she's shared. And as of right now, I think that she is happy with the way it's going. I think she's happy with the way that the case is going, and you have to wonder why. Why would she be happy with the way the case is going? We've got victory. So, you know, is she happy, or, you know, is she happy right now because she thinks that she's gotten away with something? Has she made it appear that it looks like it could be someone else? I mean, I feel like Tom is definitely, you know, potentially a dangerous person. He can be. He has the potential to be a dangerous person. But Tanya also has the potential to be a somewhat strange individual as well. And there's something here going on with her as well, because I feel like she feels like she got away with something, and I don't think that it's going to happen. She's not going to get away with it much longer because of that. I don't think with that Tower and the Queen of Wands here, this Public Defender, I think something's going on. And then we've got the Five of Wands and the Five of Swords. So second time that these cards came out tonight, I definitely feel like she was in competition. She was in competition with Alexis. This to me definitely says that she was in competition. She was absolutely jealous of Alexis, without a doubt. If nothing else, she was jealous of her. Regardless of whether she had anything to do with her or not, but she was absolutely jealous of her, and that was what that friendship was about. She could be happy that this happened to her. It could be just that. I'm not saying that she had anything necessarily to do with it, but it could be just the fact that she had so much animosity towards Alexis that she was okay with this. She was okay with what happened to her. She really truly did not like her. I don't believe that she liked her at all as a friend. And then we've got the Truce, and we've got the Ace of Swords, the Hangman. I do feel like this Hangman says that, you know, that this case here is, you know, we're still in the middle of it. We've still got a ways to go before we have all the information, and you know, it's still going to take some time. Okay, this is just one of those cards where it just tells us that we've still got a little ways to go before we get results. But I do feel like the fact that this is coming out, the Fool, I feel like, again, remember with the Death card, with the lady who her face was blacked out, I feel like the Tower, I think that Tanya, there's something that she's not expecting. There's something that she's not expecting, and it's going to hit her out of the blue. Whatever happens, it's going to hit her out of the blue, and she doesn't see it coming. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I kind of feel like there's definitely this one's going to need a part 2. I really do. I feel like this needs a part 2 reading, because there's definitely something fishy about Tom and Tom and Tanya in this case. Both of these people are suspicious, and things are coming up for both of them. I think that they were both jealous of Alexis. You know, Tom was jealous because that was his wife, and he, just didn't want to see her with anyone. And Tanya was also jealous, and I don't believe for 1 minute liked Alexis at all as a friend, or much less considered her a close friend. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to need a part 2. So I'm going to end it there, guys. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and put it in the comment section down below. Like I said, I don't know much about this case. I just started looking into this case like last night, and so it's really kind of piqued my interest. I'm going to have to get into it a little bit more. So again, if I misspoke about any of the details, it's just, I apologize. I just don't really have a whole lot of information, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I am going to definitely have to do a part 2 on this, because I don't want to go any longer than what I am now, but I feel like there's still more cards to be pulled. So until next week, guys, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you then.